Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're starting a two-part deep dive into one of the most emotional, mysterious, and ultimately heartbreaking stories in modern fiction. The story of Susie Salmon. She was a bright, vibrant teenager whose entire world changed forever after crossing paths with a truly dangerous man. This first episode will explore Susie's life, her dreams, and the single, terrifying moment that fractured everything she knew and loved. So get comfortable, because this is a story that stays with you long after it's over. Let's step into Susie's world. At 14 years old, Susie Salmon was full of life. Her biggest passion was photography. She had this wonderful, creative spirit and saw the world through the lens of her camera. It was her way of capturing all the little moments that made up her life. You could see it in the pictures she took, her parents, Jack and Abigail, sharing a quiet laugh in the kitchen. Her younger sister Lindsey, focused and determined during her track practice. And her little brother, Buckley, toddling around, trying to imitate everything his big sister did. These snapshots weren't just photos. They were pieces of a happy family mosaic, a collection of love, warmth, and everyday joy. Susie's world was a comfortable, safe place. She also shared a really special bond with her grandmother, Lynn, a wonderfully quirky and strong woman who wasn't afraid to speak her mind. One day, her grandmother looked at her with such confidence and predicted that Susie would live a long and wonderful life. For a young girl on the cusp of everything, hearing that filled her with so much hope and a beautiful sense of innocence. It felt like a promise of a future filled with endless possibilities. But as we all know, innocence can be incredibly fragile. And sometimes the world has other plans. As Susie navigates her life, going to school, hanging out with friends, and developing her first crush, a subtle shadow begins to grow at the edges of her perfect world. It's a tension that builds slowly, almost unnoticeably at first. In her quiet suburban neighborhood, there's a man named George Harvey. He lives alone, keeps to himself, and has a strange, unsettling presence. He's the kind of neighbor you might notice but never really think twice about. Susie starts to pick up on little things. She sees him watching people, not just glancing, but studying them with an intensity that feels off. He watches the neighborhood kids playing, the families coming and going. It's just a little too close, a little too focused. But she's a teenager, caught up in her own world of school projects and daydreams. Like most of us would, she shrugs it off. It's just a weird neighbor, right? Nothing to be truly worried about. That is, until the day she can no longer ignore it. The day that shadow finally stops lurking and steps directly into her path. That day started like any other ordinary afternoon. School was out, and Susie was taking a familiar shortcut home through a cornfield. It was a path she'd walked 100 times before, but this time was different. This time George Harvey was there. He approaches her with a calm, disarming demeanor, talking about something he's built, something he wants to show her. He lures her into an underground hideout he secretly constructed right there in the middle of the field. He calls it a den for the neighborhood kids, a cool secret spot. Inside, it's filled with a false sense of warmth, a single lamp casting a dim glow. But beneath that surface is a hidden, chilling menace. The transition is sickeningly abrupt. One moment, Susie is a curious teenager on a normal walk home. The very next, she's trapped, and a wave of pure, cold fear washes over her. This is the pivotal moment. The encounter with unimaginable danger that ends in pain, confusion, and her sudden, shocking disappearance from the world. It's the event that tears the very fabric of the Salmon family apart forever. In the aftermath, Susie's disappearance shatters her home. The once happy house becomes a place of suffocating silence and unbearable grief. Her father, Jack, becomes consumed by the mystery. He can't rest, his mind endlessly replaying Susie's last day, searching for clues, for answers. His grief turns into a relentless obsession, and a deep, gnawing suspicion begins to form about his quiet neighbor, George Harvey. Her mother, Abigail, tries to hold everything together. She tries to be the strong one for her other children, Lindsey and Buckley. But the weight of not knowing, the deafening silence where Susie's laughter used to be, erodes her strength day by day. The uncertainty carves out deep emotional wounds that she struggles to hide. Every member of the Salmon family grieves in their own way. Lindsey throws herself into her training, trying to outrun the pain. Jack obsesses over finding the truth. Abigail retreats into herself. Each reaction, born from the same devastating loss, creates new fractures within the family, pushing them further apart when they need each other the most. The happy mosaic Susie captured in her photos is now broken into a million pieces. This story serves as a chilling reflection on how evil can so often hide in plain sight. It lives in the quiet houses on suburban streets, behind the unassuming faces of people we see every day. There's a natural human tendency to believe that true tragedy, true horror, is something that happens to other people in other places. It's something you read about in the news or see in a movie. It's not something that could ever touch your own life, your own family, until it does. Susie's story is not just her own. It tragically mirrors the real-life stories of countless victims whose bright futures were stolen by senseless violence, leaving behind a wake of unimaginable pain for those who loved them. Jack, Susie's father, becomes obsessed with finding the truth. His grief transforms into a relentless hunt, and his focus narrows onto one man, their neighbor, George Harvey. Jack is convinced Harvey is responsible, and this conviction drives him to the edge. He starts following Harvey, documenting his every move, searching for any slip-up, any piece of evidence that could prove his guilt. The air between them thickens with suspicion and hostility. This tension finally explodes in a dangerous confrontation. Blinded by rage and a desperate need for answers, Jack confronts Harvey, an encounter that nearly costs him his life. It's a stark reminder of how grief can push a person into reckless territory, blurring the line between justice and vengeance. But while Jack is consumed by his external search, another family member takes a different, more direct approach. Lindsey, Susie's determined younger sister, refuses to stand by and watch her family fall apart. She senses the same darkness in Harvey that her father does, but she channels her fear into courage. In a heart-stopping sequence, Lindsey breaks into Harvey's house. She knows the risks, but the need to find something, anything, to bring her sister justice outweighs her fear. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the corner, is a potential threat, but she presses on. And then, she finds it. Tucked away, hidden from the world, is chilling evidence. A detailed drawing of the underground den where Susie was taken. It's the proof they've been searching for, a tangible link connecting Harvey directly to Susie's disappearance. Lindsey's bravery is a critical turning point in the story. She didn't just find a clue. She brought the truth one step closer to the light, single-handedly changing the course of the investigation. While the search for justice rages on, the family's internal world is imploding. Jack's obsession with Harvey becomes a black hole, sucking all the light and energy from his home. He spends his nights chasing shadows and his days lost in thought, completely absent from the family that still needs him. He's so focused on the daughter he lost that he fails to see the wife and children who are still right there, drowning in their own sorrow. For Abigail, Susie's mother, the weight of it all becomes unbearable. She is trapped in a house that is no longer a home but a shrine to grief, living with a husband who has become a stranger. The silence is deafening. Feeling unsupported and suffocated, she makes a difficult choice. She leaves. Her escape isn't an act of abandonment, it's an act of survival. She needs to find a space where she can breathe, where she can exist outside the constant, suffocating reminder of what they've lost. Away from the immediate pain, Abigail begins her own quiet journey of healing. Over time, she learns to accept what happened, not to forget Susie, but to allow herself to live again. She gives herself permission to heal, a process that her family, still caught in the storm, hasn't yet begun. Meanwhile, Susie watches all of this unfold from a world between life and what comes after. This isn't a traditional heaven. It's a personalized, spiritual in-between realm, a beautiful but lonely space where she is suspended. From this vantage point, she sees everything. She watches her family grow, break, and slowly, painstakingly begin to rebuild. She sees her father's obsessive hunt, her sister's brave discovery, and her mother's painful departure. She feels their grief as if it were her own, a constant echo in her new reality. But her connection to the living world isn't just about her family. There's one more piece of her life she can't let go of. Ray. The boy she loved, the boy who gave her her first and only kiss. Her feelings for him are an anchor to the life that was stolen from her. She longs for closure, for one last moment of connection. Before she can fully move on and ascend to whatever comes next, she seeks one final powerful emotional experience with Ray. In a deeply moving moment, she is briefly able to inhabit another's body to share a touch. A kiss, a final, bittersweet goodbye that symbolizes all the beautiful possibilities of a life she never got to live. The story now confronts an uncomfortable truth, one that reflects many real-world cases of loss and tragedy. Justice does not always arrive in the way we expect or hope. Harvey is never brought to trial by the family's efforts. The legal system doesn't deliver the closure they so desperately crave. Instead of a dramatic courtroom victory, justice comes in a cold, indifferent twist of fate. But the story's focus isn't on vengeance. It's on something far more difficult and profound: acceptance. The Salmon family learns that healing must happen even when justice fails. They have to learn to grieve, to let go of the rage and the desperate need for a resolution they cannot control. They have to release the past that they cannot change. It's a slow, agonizing process. Jack and Abigail, once completely broken and separated by a chasm of unspoken pain, slowly start to find their way back to each other. Their love, which seemed lost forever, begins to rebuild from the ashes of their shared loss, becoming something quieter, deeper, and more resilient than before. This immense pain transforms everyone it touches. Loss forces them to redefine who they are, both as individuals and as a family. Jack, once driven by anger, finds a quieter strength. Lindsey, the overlooked younger sister, becomes a courageous young woman. Abigail learns the difference between running away and finding herself. The connections that were forged through this tragedy between siblings, between spouses, and even the unseen connection between the living and the dead grow into something unexpectedly beautiful. Susie's presence, though she is no longer physically there, is felt constantly. Her memory acts as a guiding light, a gentle pull that leads her family not back to the past, but toward a new beginning. They learn that even in the deepest, most profound grief, new life and new love can find a way to grow. In the end, Susie's memory becomes more than just a source of pain. It becomes a responsibility, a way to honor her life by living their own lives to the fullest. Her footprints remain forever in the hearts of her family, not as scars of a wound that won't heal, but as a map that teaches them about love, about resilience, and about the incredible strength it takes to move forward after the unimaginable. Susie's story is a powerful reminder that while life can be fragile and cruelly short, love endures. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the lovely bones. Susie's story reminds us that even in the darkest moments, the bonds of love can endure, transform, and ultimately rebuild. If you found this analysis meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video.